There are some new images and details for Dune Part 2 thanks to a new article by Total Film magazine here in the UK. We got an interview with director Denis Villeneuve, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson and more, where they talk about delivering on the promise of Part 1, upping the spectacle of Part 2 and what's beyond it with a potential Dune Messiah film. Within, we also get new info on the characters of Paul Atreides, Chani, Lady Jessica and Feyd Rautha, a slight tease for Alia Atreides, the process of filming in black and white on Gedi Prime, and the making of Dune Part 2's score. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing the images and details shared, breaking down all the newest info. This continues my Road to Dune series, where over the next few weeks, I will continue to post video essays and topical uploads based on the new Dune movies, the novel, and Denis Villeneuve's previous work. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Dune Part 2 and beyond, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's discuss the new images and details for Dune Part 2. So the new edition of Total Film magazine has provided us with new images and interviews for Denis Villeneuve's highly anticipated film. The new article details a world-exclusive dive into Dune Part 2 with the director and crew. The issue has two front covers, with both showing off Timothée Chalamet's Paul Atreides and Zendaya's Chani. The first is the standard cover with Paul and Chani ready for battle, and the second is the exclusive subscriber cover featuring a beautiful shot of both characters in the desert. Inside the article, there's also new images featured, which includes another glorious shot of Paul in the desert, a close-up of Chani, a photo of Paul and Austin Butler's Feyd Rautha ready to battle in a brutal knife fight, a fourth of Denis Villeneuve, Javier Bardem's Stilgar and Josh Brolin's Gurney Halleck on set, another with the director and Rebecca Ferguson's Lady Jessica, and a final shot between Stellan Skarsgård's Baron Harkonnen and Feyd. All the shots look amazing, but the one that we learn the most from is that knife fight shot between Paul and Feyd, as for one, Feyd is wielding the Emperor's blade just like he does in the book, and two, Paul's sister Alia Atreides is nowhere to be seen or is partially hidden in the image. However, Denis and Rebecca Ferguson do briefly discuss Alia later on in the article, so I will be getting into that and what is said about her possibly appearing. Also, I will show these images on screen again throughout the descriptions of the interviews that take place. So now that the intro is out of the way, let's get into the extended details and all of the most interesting things that were mentioned in this new article. To begin with, Denis Villeneuve and his cast talked about their ambition for Part 2, the world accepting the first film, and the character transition of Paul Atreides. Villeneuve opened by saying, "When I was shooting Part 1, I remember saying to myself, if that's the only movie, I want to be at peace. So I gave everything. Of course, for me, it was not about box office. It was about, do people feel that you have been a traitor to the novel, or does the world accept your adaptation? I felt that it was a yes and that I was able to go on and make Part 2. He further described the process of rejoining the writing team as one that is more challenging than their work on the world-building first film because storytelling-wise, it's much more dense, both with Paul and Jessica embracing the Fremen culture and with Paul stepping into his fate. He mentions about Timothée Chalamet saying, "One of the things I'm proudest of is how Timothée portrayed Paul and how he transformed in front of the camera from a teenager into that messianic figure, a tormented young man trying to deal with his destiny." Rebecca Ferguson added, "There are scenes where he has to scream in Fremen in front of hundreds of supporting artists. It was scary, and the resonance in which he does it and the power with which he does it was mesmerizing." Timothée Chalamet also commented on his character saying, "It was a surreal really lived-in experience having come into his own. Frank Herbert's warning was in Dune and Dune Messiah to be wary of charismatic leaders, to be wary of people that hold too much power. That's something Paul wrestles with in the second movie, where he's actively resisting a certain path that calls on him to be a complete leader because he knows what comes with it. He also talked about the importance and experience during one particular scene, which was of course the sandworm riding moment, which has been teased plenty of times in all the footage thus far. He said, "Beyond being an exciting sequence in the movie, it represents a coming of age. It's where Paul's supposed prophecy would fall flat, and it would mean his death if he can't rise to the occasion. So the stakes of that moment are huge, and the doing of it was thrilling. It involved a lot of industrial fans blowing sand, and a slab of worm was built. It was an amazing experience." Denis added, "When you read the book, your brain is connecting the dots, but what's the technique? I needed to show the logic of how to ride a worm and the danger, but at the same time, Paul needs to be good. To create that fine balance is fun because as a filmmaker, I never had the chance to show the birth of a hero." But of course, if you know Paul's story, you'll know hero is less of a phrase to use later on, and Denis Villeneuve did actually go into the end of Dune Part 2 a little bit more, alongside potentially making a third film with Dune Messiah. The director described the 2 installments of Dune as a complete story, but suggested that Part 2's conclusion would be more heartbreaking than the book to set up the events explored in Dune Messiah. He said, "All of the elements are there, but I think the movie adaptation is more tragic than the book. The way that Part 2 ends, it would create a total balance and equilibrium to finish Paul's storyline in what we could say is a Part 3. I am doing a whole video essay on what I think he means by this ending being more heartbreaking in the next few days, but generally I think he's touching on it showing visuals of Paul's bloody jihad. That happens in the 12 years between Dune and Dune Messiah, so it would make sense if he's referring to that. But again, I will be going into more detail in my next Dune video and how I think he might put together the final scene in his latest movie. Returning to the article though, Chalamet and Zendaya did briefly add on to the idea of Villeneuve adapting a third film with Messiah. Zendaya said, "Denis is an artist and doesn't like to share things until he's got it figured out. So whenever he's ready, we're all keenly ready to hear what his vision is." And Chalamet said, "The idea excites me very much. If the time and opportunity comes to complete the story with Messiah, I think we're all super enthusiastic about that." The other thing that was noted in and around this discussion on Part 2 and Messiah was actually some more info regarding Hans Zimmer's score for the second film and how the composer is going above and beyond to make the music for every film in this universe. It said in the article that Zimmer never stopped working on the score after the first film was completed, writing 90 minutes of brand new music simply to get Denis Villeneuve in the mood for writing the screenplay for Part 2. Denis said, "I remember at one point he called me and said, 'Denis, listen to this, you're going to love it. It's by far the best score I've had in my life, and in Part 2, the score is even stronger than Part 1. I can say that with confidence.'" And the interviewer suggested that Hans may even be writing the score for Part 3 to get Villeneuve in the mood for that too. Moving on, the next interesting details that were discussed included more on this adaptation of Feyd Rautha and the process involved with capturing Geidi Prime in black and white. Starting with the character of Feyd, Austin Butler told Total Film, "Denis described him to me as having a psychotic nature, but yet there's something sort of seductive about him as well. And he's hungry for power. I started thinking, well, how did he grow up? What would his voice sound like? How would he breathe? How would he move? That was the real fun, where you start filling in all those details and putting meat on the bone. With Feyd, I didn't think it would be healthy to live in the Elvis headspace 24 hours a day. So I created rituals around it in the hair and makeup chair where I could start shifting my mind over. That allowed more freedom to feel that I could go further in the film because I knew that it wasn't going to get out of hand. Once you know that, then it's so much fun because he's so different from me. There's a challenge in that, but there's something liberating about immersing yourself in this other way of being. There were possibilities that don't exist with other characters that were very fun to explore. And Denis said, Feyd Rautha has a dangerous allure that makes him the rock star of the family. He's the beautiful Baron nephew, a playboy, very sexy, charismatic, psychotic killer. There's something erotic about it. Everyone needs to be moved by his beauty, and Austin was perfect for that. And on those black and white scenes on Gadi Prime, it looks like my video predicting the reasoning behind that seems to actually be the case. Denis said, Gadi Prime is an industrial world. I loved the idea that in different worlds, the laws of physics could be different. Maybe there are some stars in the universe where the light doesn't reveal colours. It's the opposite here, it kills colours. I thought a black and white world would fit with their primitive mentality. It's described in the article that rather than simply desaturating the image in post, an otherworldly effect was achieved by strapping infrared lenses to the large format cameras. Villeneuve said, it wasn't something that was done in VFX, it was done as we were shooting. Finally, some of the cast then talked about their roles in Dune Part 2, whether they differ from the book, and how this movie has aimed to present them. Zendaya was one actress interviewed, and she mentioned about how she got an expanded role in the second part, how that relates to what's in Herbert's book, and how primarily it's conveyed through a difference in point of view. She said, what Denis does very well is take the female characters more deeply into consideration in a way that was rarely the case for science fiction in the 60s. He was really able to build out a strong sense of Chani's own views and life. It wasn't entirely like she's at the will of who she's in love with. I did feel a particular sense of care for what Chani represents in his films. She's strong in her convictions. Even when she's falling in love, she still doesn't like what Paul represents. So it sounds like as the movie progresses, we're going to go from a building romance between the two into a somewhat challenging viewpoint from Chani towards Paul. And again, like Chalamet mentioned in this article, it's building on this idea of Chani being Paul's moral compass, showing something really human in the midst of very high stakes. Lady Jessica was also mentioned in regards to the care taken with the characters, and Villeneuve himself stated that her presence is the single biggest difference between the novel and his adaptation. He said, strangely, Jessica's more in the background in the second part of the novel. I thought that was not proper. She's still Lady Jessica, the main architect of the story. I thought that was a very powerful idea that was not sustained in the book. I made sure that she has the character presence in the second part. And speaking of Jessica, we did get a somewhat nod to the confirmation of her daughter Alia Atreides being a part of part 2. Now, they didn't necessarily confirm it, but based on what they say here, they are heavily alluding to that being the case. And after some fans were worried about Alia's involvement due to her not being a part of the marketing, it's good to hear these teases from the director and actress Rebecca Ferguson. In the article, it says that Denis smiled in mention of Alia and replied to the interviewer with, I need to keep some mystery. And Rebecca Ferguson said, having a Bene Gesserit pregnant, we can say, is not like me being pregnant. It's a whole other journey. On top of these teases, Alia was also mentioned in the new Time interview with Denis, and the quote in that article read, Dune Part 2 features an embryo who advises her mother from the womb. So it's pretty much confirmed with that article, and to be honest, I had no doubt that she would be in it. She's too important to not be there, and of course she was teased in that first movie with Jessica being pregnant. I think like Denis was alluding to, it's just a case of mystery and keeping her out of the marketing, because there are many other things that you can put in those trailers. And when we do see her for the first time on the big screen, it will be so much more of a surprise and hopefully a delight as well. But they were the main images and details released from the new Total Film edition of Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2. I'm interested to hear what you guys think towards the new images and details discussed, alongside what personally excites you the most about Villeneuve's upcoming film. So let me know down below in the comment section. For much more videos and news on Denis Villeneuve's Dune universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.